North Korea test launched another ballistic missile on Saturday. It's the country's 7th launch this year in direct defiance of U.S. demands to stop their nuclear program. Isaac Stonefish, senior fellow at the Asia Society Center on U.S.-China Relations, joins me now to break all this down. So, Isaac, what has been the reaction from the major players in this, the U.S., South Korea, China, Japan?
China, as they normally do, expressed concern about the launch, but also wanted all parties to have a feeling of restraint. And they said that in such a way where they weren't just directing it at North Korea, but also at the United States, which Beijing feels is in many ways responsible for the launch. South Korea and Japan, the foreign ministers and I believe the prime ministers spoke with each other and talked about the concern about this recent launch. The thing that was most surprising was the White House's reaction. In a statement that Trump released on Saturday night, he talked about how the missile landed close to Russia and said, oh, the Russian president is probably not too pleased by this. And it's strange to hear the President of the United States express concern in one of these statements for a country that is not America's treaty ally. That was something that a lot of us watching this met with some consternation.
Yeah, it seemed to be a prodding of Russian President Vladimir Putin to kind of have that tone in that White House statement.
It did. It seemed on the one hand very much, oh, hey, Russia, I got your back, but also was in a little bit goading Russia to be more involved with North Korea. So Russia, as also with the other nations I just mentioned, was party to the six-party talks, which was a series of conversations trying to get North Korea to curb its military program. It ended in 2008, and perhaps Trump wants Russia to be more actively involved in pushing North Korea today.
Well, North Korea in recent days has said that they would be willing to meet with the Trump administration, quote, under the right conditions. First, what do they mean by the right conditions, and how could this launch impact efforts at diplomacy?
I think both the North Korean side and the American side, Trump also said that he'd meet with North Korea under the right circumstances, are leaving themselves a wiggle room to decide when they think the conditions are right, both domestically and internationally. And frankly, I don't think this launch is going to change things that much. North Korea has a pattern of doing something provocative after South Korean elections. You got to remember, South Korea chose its new president just several days ago. And the other big news that North Korea seems to be pushing against is a major summit in Beijing this weekend. So I think North Korea is sending this launch as a message to both Beijing and to Seoul that, hey, we're still here. We're still a country that you have to pay attention to.
Yeah, let's talk about actual capability. This missile is said to have flown higher and longer than a launch from the same place in February. Does that show progress in North Korea's missile capability?
It does show progress. The important thing to remember is that North Korea has already had a massive deterrent against the United States attacking. And that's not an ability to launch a missile in the direction of the United States, but rather at South Korea. We have to remember that there's roughly 130,000 Americans living in South Korea, and that North Korea's conventional artillery is able to do a lot of damage to South Korea and also to the 50 million people living in South Korea, especially those who live near the border with North Korea, where the capital of South Korea, Seoul, is.
Well, this is the first launch since the election of South Korea's new president, who said many times that he wants to bring back a comprehensive engagement policy with North Korea. Is this launch likely to change that?
I don't think so. I think Moon, in the statement he made after the launch, made the right noises. He said that defense of South Korea is important, but he also emphasized again that under the right circumstances, he would be willing to have dialogue. So I think both sides probably expected this to happen, and tensions might flare in the short term, but most likely things will calm down and Moon will be able to pursue a policy that allows for dialogue with North Korea. That said, North Korea is the world's most unpredictable country, and we could be having this conversation in a couple of weeks and things being entirely different.
All right, Isaac Stonefish, thanks very much for your insight, Isaac. Appreciate it.
Thank you.